We're the talk of the town. We're the artists, the actresses, the filmmakers too, meeting Venus. Yeah, we're coming through. Shine your light, let your voices be heard. We're spreading love with every single word, from the stage to the screen. We're making our mark, me and Venus, together we embark.
Good afternoon. I'm very happy to welcome today actress and filmmaker Nicolette Sweeney. How are you, Nicolette?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you very much for joining
Of
today
course.
with
Of
us.
course.
And very happy to meet you online here on the channel. First, I was interested to know a little bit about your interest into acting and becoming a writer and producer. Tell me, how did it start with you and your studies as well?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I've always wanted to act. It's always been my passion and kind of I just always loved it more than anything. I really still do. I'm fascinated by it every day. It's the most incredible process to me. And yeah, I really, really, really do love it. So I think from a very young age, I always wanted to pursue it. I wrote a lot as well. I write film and TV as well. And I loved that. And so I grew up between Washington, D.C., and then a bit also in Spain, some in Italy as well. And then I moved back to Spain when I was 18. And then I moved to LA and went to UCLA and studied theater there. And then I started working when I was in college. I was very lucky. I started working when I was in college. And yeah, it was one of those weird things where I got just lucky, like perfect thing at the perfect time. And I got a big movie, and I was very, very lucky because I didn't have an agent. I don't know anybody in the industry. This is all very new for me. So that was wonderful. And then that allowed me to launch my career. That doesn't mean that it's not still a struggle all the time, but I have gotten lucky, and I know I have a few different writing partners, people I write with and create projects. And it's a beautiful thing to know that that you know that exists, and that you don't have to just wait for the phone to ring, but you can also kind of take it into your own hands.
Sure. And what was your major in UCLA?
Theater.
Theater. Very nice. And tell me, how did it happen, your casting? And since it was your first role, you needed to be on the set. Then after the movie was released, you need to become to meet the press. Tell me, how was it for you? You know, the first your first ever role. How did you dealt with it? You know, people start to recognize you on social media, on across the street. So tell me, how was it for you to promote the your first work, and did it change your life a little bit?
Yes, I think that in the world it probably changed my life. Yes, it definitely changes how I move through the world and whatnot, but that's less about people recognizing me and things like that. That's much more because in reality, an actor has to work so much to the point where we start recognizing them. We think that they get one role and we recognize them, but that's not really how it works. So I think for me, it's been more of kind of each set, each project has really influenced how I've move through the world, basically because I've just found the projects to be incredible. I found the people that I work with to be incredible. I found them to be kind of lifelong creative partners. You kind of form a family with them. It's very, very special. So for me, I just think creating stories, telling stories is the work itself. I love. and I'm really fascinated by. And with that particular role, Dan Myrick, a very well-known film director, was actually looking to do a nationwide casting and to cast someone that wasn't a well-known and things like this, because he did the Blair Witch Project kind of from the roots up. And then he got very famous and whatnot, and I think was doing bigger movies. And then he kind of wanted to get back to the roots of filmmaking. So it was a beautiful, meaningful film. And I found that independent films are always very meaningful and very special. And a lot of times people kind of can translate the independent film vibe and energy into something bigger, which is the best thing in the world when you can combine the two. But yes, I think it, I move through the world differently because just the nature of the experience was so incredible and different, and the people I worked with were just wonderful. It was just this beautiful creative exploration of humanity.
I want to, since you study theater, do you have a certain process to prepare for your roles? Let's say recently in Everwinter Night and American Meltdown, you have a
Mm.
certain way of preparing for a character before filming.
I don't. I do. I do. But that's less about my theater background. I think a lot, everything I've kind of studied goes together. And also for me, I'm very personal with my acting. So I take a lot of personal experiences. I kind of have my own process. So if someone could tell me what are these tools, I probably wouldn't be able to name them. It's very personal, but I kind of go into this crazy creative zone and just explore. And I find usually when I've been cast in something, I really relate to the character, which is why I have been cast in it. And I can feel the voice of that character, and I'm just trying to kind of channel it, uh, channel it intuitively, but also respectfully to the script and the story, because the script and the story has come from someone who is an incredible creative who is creating this whole world, because they, I think a lot of filmmaking and whatnot, it stays in an emotional reality. It's created through an emotional reality. So all this is existing on a platform, on a media that we feel like we can touch, that we're connected to, but maybe we don't know the exact character in a show, but we know someone like him and we know his perspective and we can understand him. So because it's so all encompassing, I find I always am trying to respect the filmmaker and the story being told. So I'd say that it's less that I'm focused on what I learned in theater, although that was wonderful. And it's more that I'm focused on all the different ways I know as a human I can get uh, connected emotionally to something on a deeper level.
I want to ask you about acting in horror film, but first, because I've seen your filmography and I've seen you did a lot of short films, and you've been, I mean, navigating between short and long features.
Mhm.
And I meet a lot of filmmakers and as well actors, who think that short films, it's a way of promoting yourself, and then you wouldn't go back to them again. Okay, because right now you start to be offered feature length film. So tell me about your criteria in selecting roles. It doesn't matter for you to be short or long. And as well, I want to ask you, because we have a lot of platforms specialized in shorts right now, since you've been in Europe, Italy, and Spain. Pienso tú hablas español también.
Claro que
Uh,
sí. Claro. Muy cómodo.
and and I want to ask you, you think shorts as well can promote yourself as an actress and promote your talents? Especially, we have a lot of platforms. I know 2 or 3 platforms in Italy. Been in touch with them, and we have a specialized festival in my country, Egypt, film festival for shorts, documentaries. You know, everywhere there is a short and documentary and short content film festival. So tell me about your criteria about short films, and do they promote yourself as an actress, and as well do you think they brought you some opportunities as well?
Yes, that's a great question. I think short films are wonderful, and I think sometimes they can be really good to pitch something else. But I have also been a part of short films that I feel stand alone and are very beautiful, and maybe they're a filmmaker's expression of a certain story, but spectacular. I think that the reason people maybe say it, they don't go back to it, is because there very often isn't a huge budget for short films, and there isn't a way to sell them easily, which means that a lot of short films are being created by very beginner filmmakers and to promote something else. So sometimes when you're on a short film set, you can feel like this isn't the project that they love, you know? And I think everyone wants to be on the project that everyone loves. You want to be on the director's dream project. You want to be on the writer's dream project. And normally that's a feature film, um, or a series. Not always, but normally. And but that being said, I have been a part of very incredible short films. It is funny. It is funny because I wish that I was in a place more where I was choosing all of the roles. Um and it's hard as an actress because an actor, any actor, that you spend so much time not working that a lot of your life becomes not working. And like I was just living in Spain the past few years. I was doing theater. I took not a kind of break from film. I was still filming, but I was just doing some more live performance stuff, which was wonderful. I love improv, things like this. I wrote a pilot and starred in it with my writing partner. We both wrote and starred in it, and we're in the process of selling it. So I branched out to very different things. So I think sometimes if you stay in just you're an actor, and I personally love comedy, but I think that it's good to branch out as much as you can. I know a lot of actors um, that are feel like they've stayed in one kind of path and maybe have turned themselves off to other things, and that they actually feel a little they don't feel as good about it. Whereas I know a lot of actors that are very well rounded and they just love, 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 love all kind of parts in it. And I find that their life when they're not working feels a little bit more fulfilled. And I definitely went through that as well. I went through a moment where I was just in LA after school, audition to audition, commercial agent, going through the kind of steps. And then once I did this bigger movie, Skyman, I realized, oh, this is the power. I mean, this is what it is. This is what's on the other side of the dream. It's spectacular, and not because it's glamorous or any of that. It's spectacular because it's really good people doing really good work, and so that to me is unbelievable. You know, because you don't work that often, I think that it's a strange balance between, even though I'm not working, I'm still going to be kind of choosy with what I'm doing. And I think that that's really powerful as well, especially because so much of being an actor is about your kind of inner internal process. I mean, you manage your day, you are the one taking care of everything. No matter how many agents or managers you have, you're going about it, you're doing it. And so, because of that, um, you're in charge of your life, and you're the one that has to move through it. So your sense of worth as a person, I think, is really important. And I found that although I love short films, unless I really love the script, um, I might not do it because if there's something else waiting for me. Now, if I'm not working at all and there's a short film and I love the script, I'll do it. I did one a few weeks ago. It was wonderful, amazing cast, amazing crew, and wonderful script that had a good point and story. So I think that kind of, yeah, always focusing on the work part really, really, really helps. Then the other BS, bullshitty, false stuff can go away.
Yes. I want to ask you, you know, about like Everwinter Night. It's it's an ensemble horror film. It's a slasher film with a masked killer. And I don't know why I discovered that I have a tendency, beside being a journalist and film critic, to write stuff, So like a month ago, I started an AI video channel on YouTube. I write films and create them on by AI, and I found it very, I mean, very entertaining for me, you know.
Mhm.
But and I don't know why when I saw the information about the movie, I remembered because I know Mustafa Akkad. He comes from Arab countries who produced Halloween.
Okay.
The first ever Halloween was John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis.
Right.
And right now his son is producing the sequels.
Oh,
His son is Malik Akkad. He usually used to come to Egypt frequently, and he did a documentary about his father, etc. So I remember telling me, Mustafa Akkad, that why Halloween, the first one, was a success.
mm,
Because usually these kind of films, the ticket buyers are couples, you know
mm,
and when something happened on the screen, the girlfriend is a little bit feeling scared, and she hugs her boyfriend, and that's why the movie made a lot of money. you know
right, right,
because people used to go in couples at the time.
right,
So
right, 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 right.
tell me about your experience in shooting like a genre film like that, with also, I mean, most of the cast are of your generation, you know and do you think about your character when you go home? I mean, do you have some nightmares or something like that?
That's a great question. The slasher film, no, the that was a really funny film, and we all were in the snow in New Haven, Connecticut, and it was weird. And they were incredible filmmakers that were doing everything they could, and it was a blast. And we all went from New York, or a lot of us from New York, and we just had such a fun time. We were literally in the weirdest kind of place, and I think it was so cool too, just to be with actors of all kinds, and the crew was incredible. They're all Boston based. I met some of my best friends, that people that would be my best friends for the next few years when I was living in New York on that film. It was wonderful and bizarre. So there was no gore. We laughed the entire time. Nothing like that. I actually find in the more dramatic films, and even sometimes comedy, is kind of where there's more of the cerebral thing going on, where you do take it home, because the gore and slasher is so ridiculous. It's so stupid that a lot of the people that do those movies are very fun, happy people. Whereas
Yes,
American Meltdown,
myself. You've been in Italy and Spain, and maybe you have seen or read about a lot of films coming from the 70s with Mario Bava and Dario Argento.
mm,
They had some violence, of course, like Suspiria, and I've been watching a few days ago again one of his films, Deep Red, Profondo
okay,
Rosso, you know.
okay.
And right now, just been watching some horror films, like a couple of weeks ago, we saw the sequel to Smile, it's a
Mm,
big budget Universal picture film,
yeah.
and I found, right now, the gore and the bloody scenes, they disconnect you as an audience from the narrative a little bit.
Totally,
Because I
totally.
think the filmmaker, he or she,
Yeah.
because we watched as well with my wife few days, no, a couple, maybe last month, The Substance with
Oh,
Demi
I didn't
Moore.
see it, but yes,
Uh,
I hear.
yeah, but I think right now violence and blood and exploding body particles are over the top on the screen, and I think
Yes.
it's not realistic and disconnect you from the narrative, from enjoying the film. Turn your eyes from the screen,
Uh,
and sometimes if you're watching with someone, he or she can tell you, "Why did you bring me to this?" you know,
Totally.
to this
Yes,
film.
it's very
Sometimes.
interesting. I find everybody has
Mhm.
such a different, it's really fascinating to me because everybody has such a different view and take on all of it. And
Yes.
yeah, that's interesting because I think some audience members feel the opposite, where they feel so embedded. And then I meet other people. I'm not a big horror person. I don't need it. And I meet people like me, but then I meet people that love it so much. So it's just so interesting to me. It's always been really fascinating that every audience member is so different. I'm with you, where if I'm watching horror, I'm taking it home with me. I don't want to watch it, but when you're doing it and when you're on set, it's like the funnest, happiest people. It's really funny. Hello? Hello? Oh, I lost you for a second.
I'm here.
I'm losing your sound a tiny bit. Hello? Hello? Hello, hello. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear
Now
me
I can
now?
hear you. Now I can hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Hmm.
Sorry, we have some rains here, and sometimes the internet cuts. You know, so what I want to ask you about your other facet as a writer, as a producer. Do you think this completes yourself as an artist? And what are the topics you would like to depict in your own creation?
Well, that's a great question. I would say that I also make music with someone that I did a movie that I actually did Skyman with. And I made him, I do music with him, and I that's wonderful to me. We perform, we record. So I love making music. I also work with a few musicians in Spain where I just moved back from. So that's been incredible to me. I think that I think that I'm really fascinated by the artistic way of life, living artistically. And I think that that can range from many different things, many different careers and whatnot. And I do think that we are all, I don't know. But in a way, I think that for some people, living in the day to day, living in certain, I don't know, pursuing certain goals or living a certain kind of life that's been set up by society works perfectly for them, and they feel like they're getting as fulfilled as they can be. For me, I need to always be focused on the kind of emotional root of everything. And so I think that, making music, writing, acting has been so wonderful. But I've noticed about me, I'm really specific about who I work with. So I do a lot of improv. And when I'm with a certain scene partner, oh my God, I'm soaring. But if I'm with someone where we're not connected or I just don't know them very well or we're not on the same wavelength or page, it feels different. So for me, I love kind of finding that unspoken creative vehicle, um, and creating a story, that's relevant. I want to raise some, awareness about really important issues. I think that a lot of things make me really happy in the world. I think we live in a beautiful place. The world is a beautiful place, but there's also a lot of tragedy. I feel really big gaps between, especially in places like LA, people that have money and people that don't. I see people on the streets that are mentally ill, um, also people on the streets that are not mentally ill. And, if just a few things went differently in their life, they would have a home. And so I think that the immigrants are the backbone of America in a lot of ways. I would really love to tell more immigrant stories. I was a part of a theater company called Gimnasio de Actores in Madrid, and that was really incredible because we did tell a lot of stories. There were a lot of very authentic stories. Everyone was Venezuelan in the company, um, that come from, immigration. So that feels very important to me. Once again, the homeless population, the idea that that we're living in a system in America that is not set up for everybody to succeed. I think is really important. And I think that goes for women as well. I would love to focus also on the male perspective and work with men, which I do very often. But I think I want to put more stories out about women because I don't think there are enough. And I mean, it's just a few years ago, and I watched Fleabag, and that inspired me to write. And I realized that was the first show I'd ever really seen, other than Girls, but the first show I'd ever really seen that was written by a woman, and the woman starred in it. I didn't even know you could do that. I mean, I didn't even know you could do that because I didn't see it. And and even in those cases, they're often led or helped. Better said, they partner with a man, which is wonderful because a dual perspective is extremely important. But I want to share more stories about what reality actually looks like for people, and I also want to share stories about the beauty that is in the parts of life that we're not told it's in. It's not in cars, it's not in money, it's not in material possessions. It's in deep relationships, it's in friendships, it's in female to female relationships, male to male, male to female. But it's the intricacies of life, it's how we're dealing with it. That's how we're coming together. And that's what makes people fall in love and stick together and want to partner and go through it with someone. And who do you want to call at the end of the day, and why do you want to call that person? And why is it so hard to live with a lonely feeling because we're not supposed to? Why are we fighting so much of what's in front of us? Why are we so disconnected and so connected at the same time? All of this to me is very fascinating. And also I really want to focus on, I think that there's a lot of emphasis in our culture today because everything's so globalized on this city offers this city offers that, this place is great, this place isn't. I don't think it's that simple. I was just in Italy with my boyfriend. That was incredible. Um, and, but it was still him and I in a city. And when he comes to LA, it's him and I in a city. When I'm in LA or Italy, of course, I'm being affected deeply by what's going on around me. But at the same time, I am who I am. My life is happening, and my environment. Sure, I may become it in a way, but I think we're a lot more affected by different environmental factors, that have to do a lot more with kind of our emotional state rather than our geographical place. People say that Spain and Italy are so lovely, yes, because they're beautiful, but because emotionally they're countries that are more open. So that's what we're responding to. And I want to explore that. I want to explore, you know, what humans are actually living in.
Eh, al fin, ¿quieres decir algo a tus amigos en España?
Bueno, a mis amigos en España, gracias por ser quienes sois. Gracias por todo y nada, que tenemos que seguir adelante todos. Somos artistas y es nuestra vida. Seguir adelante, esperar lo mejor, creer en lo que podemos hacer juntos y sí.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nicolette, for the lovely interview.
Thank,
I wish you all the best in your work as an
thank you.
actress and a writer, and I hope to see your next films as well, your next theatrical production soon. And I hope if you have another project, you come back and promote it with us as well. You feel most
I,
welcome.
I would love that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a lovely afternoon and take care. Thank you very much.
Thank
Muchas
you.
gracias.
Claro que sí. Chao, chao. Thank you.
Ciao. Bye.